Hey guys, WalterFootball.com video here. We're going to be talking about the top three most underrated teams for the 2025 NFL season. Before we get into that, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store, or visit WalterFootball.com. We have tons of content there every day. Let's get into it. These three teams are all underdogs to make the playoffs, and I think they have a great chance of making the playoffs, especially my first team. So we're going to get to number three, Atlanta Falcons. Last year, Kirk Cousins kind of sabotaged this team. The team was well ahead of Tampa Bay in the division, and they kind of fell apart at the end of the year. Kirk Cousins was terrible, kept throwing interceptions. That game against Denver was especially terrible. So Michael Penix stepped in the final three games and looked good. I expect him to make a big leap in his second year. He has a good offensive line in front of him. Obviously, Bijan Robinson is a great running back. I think he could potentially lead the league in rushing this year. You have Drake London, Darnell Mooney, some good weapons at receiver for him. The biggest factor here, though, is that they really addressed their pass rush in the offseason. They spent 2 first-round picks on edge rushers, and as well as some they also signed some veterans too. So their pass rush is going to be a lot better. They drafted Xavier Watts in the 3rd round. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a good player next to Jesse Bates at safety. So this team is looking pretty good to me. I think that they and Tampa Bay should be pretty even in the odds to win the NFC South, and they're pretty big underdogs to Tampa. So I like them to potentially win the division and maybe win a playoff game. My number 2 team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So obviously we don't know who the quarterback is, but we kind of know, right? I mean, it's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers was pretty bad last year, kind of like Cousins was with Atlanta. But Rodgers was coming off a torn Achilles, same like Cousins, and I expect both will bounce back this year. Obviously, we don't know if Cousins is even going to start because he's currently the backup on Atlanta, but I think there's a good chance that he's going to be a starter somewhere after a trade. But Rodgers, I think, will bounce back as well, even though he's now into his 40s. So they're going to have better quarterback play. But remember, 2 years ago, they went to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph quarterbacking them after Kenny Pickett got benched. So this is a team that can get to the playoffs with bad quarterbacking. Also, we saw it last year with Russell Wilson. Had a few great games, and then tailed off and was awful to close out the year. But now they have DK Metcalf, definitely a big upgrade at receiver. Jalen Ward is still there at running back, but now they have Caleb Johnson who could maybe take over. But obviously, the major selling point is their defense. It's great defense every year. One of the best defensive players in the league. TJ Watt's there. They drafted a defensive lineman in the 1st round to give them more depth there. This is a team that has never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin, and yet I think they're like plus 165 to make the playoffs, which seems kind of bizarre given that they almost always make it, no matter who their quarterback is. And like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers bounces back, so I think this is a good opportunity to bet them to make the playoffs. My number 1 team is the Minnesota Vikings. I have bet this team to win the Super Bowl at 40-1 odds. I think they're down to 30 or 35-1, depending on the sports book you look at. But 40-1 was amazing value. I still think 30-1 is great value too. If you take out quarterback, I think they have a top 3 roster in the NFL. It's just great all around. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's there, and Jordan Addison. They have a great 1-2 punch at receiver. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to have a great year if he can stay healthy. The offensive line has really improved. They added Ryan Kelly and Will Fries from the Colts to play center and guard. And then they drafted a guard in the 1st round, and Donovan Jackson. Kevin O'Connell actually called Donovan Jackson when he was drafted and said, hey, do you want to play for the best offensive line in the NFL? So I really like that Minnesota made it just kind of like a sticking point to really improve their offensive line. And with Christian Darrisaw coming back too, I think they're going to have potentially a top 3 offensive line. Defensively, Brian Flores, he can out-scheme a lot of coaches in the NFL. Now, it gets shaky when he goes against quarterbacks who are great against the blitz because he blitzes so much, kind of like Matthew Stafford in the playoffs. But if he can avoid those players, then I think the Vikings are going to have a great year. The one question mark, obviously, the guy on the screen here, J.J. McCarthy, is he going to play well? And I think a lot of people have the question. That's why the Vikings are 40-1 to win the Super Bowl after going 14-3 last year. And my stance is that, well, first of all, no one expected Sam Darnold to play well. The Vikings were written off. In fact, they were almost underdogs to the Giants in week 1. Yeah, Sam Darnold had a great year. He statistically it was just amazing. Now he did have a couple bad games to close out the season, but he performed way above expectations, and that was all Kevin O'Connell's coaching. O'Connell's just a brilliant offensive minded coach, and he's going to get the most out of his quarterbacks. And obviously the quarterback's going to have the weapons with Jefferson and Addison. Hawkinson's going to be healthy, and the offensive line, Aaron Jones. Like there's a lot to work with here. And JJ McCarthy is the second point. McCarthy was Kevin O'Connell's handpicked guy. This is the guy that O'Connell wanted the most in that loaded 2024 NFL draft. So I think that there's a great argument to be made that the Vikings can go all the way and win the Super Bowl. I obviously believe in it. I've placed 1 unit bet on them to win at 40-1, and I definitely think they can do it. At the very least, I think they're going to have a strong chance to win the division, with some of the teams kind of worsening this offseason. And we'll do another video on the overrated teams, but the Lions are going to be in that overrated team list. So I'm really bullish on the Vikings this year. So yeah, those are my 3 most underrated teams: the Falcons, the Steelers, and the Vikings. So let me know what you think. Who are your most underrated teams in the NFL for the 2025 NFL season? Eager to hear it. So so once again, please like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Would mean a lot. And yeah, WalterFootball.com has tons of content. Every day we have something new up. So yeah, check us out then, and I will see you next time.